Hey, how's everybody doing? It's just another quick update in the shop, and it's kind of a rainy day here, so you'll probably hear a lot of that beating down on the roof today. It's been off and on all day and all morning. But what I'm working on today is messing with the Cutlass a little bit, and I'm also trying to figure out just how I want to do the headers on this thing. And I've got one idea that might not be really practical, but it sure looks really cool. Welcome to the Keefer's Hot Rod Shop YouTube channel. I'm Nick Keefer. Welcome back. So like I mentioned, I'm working on mocking stuff up in the Cutlass here. So what I want to start with is getting some of this stuff out of the way so that I can set it up later with a block and mock up some heads and start making headers. I'm going to start by pulling the hood off, and then I'll work on loosening up the rest of the front end. Well, as y'all saw, I got the old bonnet off of here, and now I'm going to go ahead and start loosening up all the bolts for the fenders and core support. All right, so I've got the door of the car open, and I'm just kind of down here next to the seat. And what I'm going to do to remove the front end from the car is I want to start with kind of the most covert bolts first, and then I'll get to the more conspicuous ones later. So on these cars, there's just a couple bolts here and here. And I want to go ahead and start with those first, and for that it's really compact, so I'm going to go ahead and use a ratcheting wrench. Alright, got one out. Alright, got that bottom one out. I'm going to go ahead and grab these shims, hold on to them. Make sure you don't forget these in the wheel well here. These are attached to the firewall. Next, I want to go ahead and loosen the core support up from the frame. So I've gone ahead and just laid this wrench in this area, secured onto the nut here on the body mount. And then from below, I'm going to go ahead and use this ratchet, 15mm socket and extender, and just go ahead and pull that bolt out. Alright, and now I'm just going to repeat for the other side. Got that wrench set up on top, and knock this guy out. Alright, that was perfect. Alright, and I'll pull this bolt off of this side also. I'm going to go ahead and pull these loose as well. Alright, sweet. There we go. Alright. There we go. Perfect. Now there's a couple more bolts all the way at the bottom of the fender that you're going to want to get loose, and to do that I've got this impact gun, pretty hidden, but it's a 15mm. Goes out like so. We'll get the other side too. Alright, let's go ahead and zip this air dam off. A couple of the bolts are already out. 10mm headed screws. Alright, that's out of the way. Alright, so next we're going to go ahead and pull these bolts loose that attach the cowl to the fenders. Alright, this bolt is holding the fender on as well as a couple of these shims. So I want to hold on to those and keep them together. And last, we're going to want to go ahead and pull these bolts off to secure the fender down to the cowl. We'll go ahead and hold on to these shims also. Now, something that I've actually already done is another thing that you need to take care of, pulling the front end off, and that's removing all the wiring and other associated hoses and stuff apart. So I've gone ahead and pulled that loose. The bulkhead connector is down there, and it uses a 7mm headed bolt to hold that connector onto the firewall bulkhead, and then it pulls into two pieces, separating the headlight harness with the horn wire from the ignition and power harness. It powers the column and the ignition coil and all of that. Then as we get this front end off, I'm going to be able to go in here and actually pull the wiring for the wiper motor. I want to go ahead and leave the hood latch with the car since it's got that cable ran to it. Go ahead and use a flat blade screwdriver to lift this tab and pull that cable out of there. Alright, now that the fender's loose, I can go ahead and get a little clearance and go ahead and pop the wiring off of this windshield wiper motor. Alright, there's just a little tang there at the bottom. It has to be pulled off, and this 4-wire L-shaped plug pulls right off. Likewise, the yellow and purple wires go down to a 2-wire connector that's got a tang. It needs to be pushed, and then that can unplug as well. Not going to be able to really see it, but I was pushing on this tang, which goes up like that, and then pulled the whole thing out of the bottom. Now we can go ahead and just pull this wiring up here and make sure it's liberated from the bulk of the wiring in the vehicle. Keep that with the front end. Unplug this hose. It goes from the fluid reservoir over to the pump. And these, the hood pop wire as well as, or cable, as well as this hose will stay with the car. Alright, now that all the bolts mounting the front end are taken out and all the wiring's disconnected and that hood latch cable and all that, it's time to pull the front nose cone off. But first, one thing that makes it a lot easier on these cars is to go ahead and jack the front end up and pull the front wheels and tires off. That'll give clearance for the rear bottom of the fender there and for the fender wells to come up over, and then you can pull it out as one unit like that. Alright, now that that stuff's out of the way, it's just time to get a buddy and pull the nose cone off. All right, well, cool. So as you can see, Dad and I pulled the front end off, and also if you ever listen to any of the music on these videos, that's my dad. He records all that and plays it, and he plays live and stuff too. But you can check his stuff out on YouTube. He has a channel also, Craig Keefer, One thing that I do want to add is if all of your turn signal stuff is intact, you're going to want to go ahead and unplug those from the bumper. If you're watching this to learn how to take the front end off a G-body, these were kind of disassembled, and I think this one ground might have still been attached, but I honestly don't even think so. And then that side's just pulled out completely. But if those were intact, that's one thing that I'd want to go ahead and disassemble before pulling that front end off. But otherwise, it seems like I got everything. Don't forget the antenna wire and all that kind of stuff. That's all next to the AC box, and you know, there's just all sorts of odds and ends. If your emission stuff is all still plugged in, that charcoal canister's on the front, and you're going to want to undo the hoses and all stuff, you know, all that stuff. Obviously a radiator, AC, condenser, and here's the power antenna stuff. It's the plug for the power part, and then that's the antenna wire, and that is the mechanism inside the fender there. So if you're watching it to figure out how you're going to pull the front end off your G-body, those are some tips. Mostly 15 millimeter and 13 millimeter headed stuff. 10 for the little air dam in the front there, but otherwise, you know, you just need those metric tools. And another interesting thing is, so this car is manual window without power locks or anything like that, and I've actually never seen these plugs before. So this is where the kind of accordion thing would go for your power windows and stuff, and a car equipped with that. But this car just has these nifty little body plugs. Kind of neat. So I wanted to talk to you all about headers for a second. I kind of teased you at the beginning of the video with these tubes sticking out the bottom of the fender that look like zoomies. I have considered zoomies, and they're really awesome with the blower motor, and they sound awesome, but I think after about 5 minutes of driving, I might have a headache and a bunch of police officers following me, if you know what I mean. But I might not be doing that, but I want to show you. So what I've got mocked up in the car currently is these are 2-inch outer diameter hooker headers, and they fit really nicely. And I think they would fit fine with the raised exhaust ports of the AFR heads. They're raised 3/8 of an inch. But that 2-inch diameter tubing just isn't going to cut it with the power of the blower motor here. On a more mild setup, it would be fine, but I'm trying to push 4-digit horsepower here. I'm wanting to blend in ethanol and push this thing maybe up to 1200 horsepower if I can. What I've arrived at is I want to go ahead and do 2 1/4 inch primary headers and with a 4-inch collector. And so one thing that I need to consider with that is how I'm going to place the collectors in all the tubes. So I'm thinking, you know, kind of like how this number 5 tube is passed over the steering shaft here. On either side, 5 and 6, I want to go ahead and send those over the frame as tight as I can so that steering's not an issue. I'll be using kind of skinnier drag race tires in the front, so I'll have some room anyway. But that'll give more room to send 3 2 1/4 inch tubes down inside of the frame rail, and then those will kind of come around to kind of arrive where, if you can see where the hooker collectors are right there, I'm kind of wanting to go for that idea, but I also want to move them out a little bit, and I'm going to need to move them down because what I'll be doing is I'm actually going to be connecting the frame with a series of tubes that runs kind of front to back and also ties in with a couple of cross members to strengthen everything up. Where the frame kicks out on either side, there's going to be a pair of tubes that runs under the car, and I'm going to run them back to a kind of a number 1 rear cross member back there, and reinforce those with cross member pieces in the front, as well as a transmission cross member again between those two tubes. So I'm gonna need the headers pretty low, and I'm gonna kind of move them out a little bit just to clear all of that stuff. So if you guys have any ideas on headers, you can leave them down in the comments, and you know, there's plenty of thought to be given towards that at this point anyway. But those are kind of my obstacles: big 2 1/4 inch tubes, and just that framework under the vehicle that I'm going to have to work around. But that's my plan on that. Just kind of wanted to fill you in and kind of give you an idea of what I'll be doing. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, maybe I'll have a header build video for this car. So you're going to want to check that out, of course. Hopefully that'll be after I get the seat mounted in the Nova. Also, I've got a little vegetable garden update for y'all. Taking advantage of the rain right now and using it to water them. They are ready to plant into some soil. I just need to get some soil. The watermelons are looking super tall, so I'm going to be planting those in the ground. And the pepper plants are looking like they're ready to be put in some pots. So just need to get that soil and put them in the pots, and the onions are looking pretty good too. So that's pretty cool. I actually took these out and replanted the okra. I put different seeds in here, but I had enough soil to kind of plant my okra, and they've been out here growing too. So this one needs a little more soil in there, but I just wanted to get them planted. But they're looking pretty good for being a couple weeks old, so pretty excited. Well, it went ahead and got dark outside on us. Actually, you can see the crescent moon and Venus up in the sky right now, which is really cool. But I wanted to show you, I went ahead and actually had a chance to pot some of these plants. So I got some jalapeno and poblano peppers planted, and these are the okra here. They seem to be doing okay. I actually just replanted these today with some more dirt, so they're a little limp there, but hopefully they'll be doing great as they get more light and as I keep watering them through the season here. But those are looking really sweet. Can't wait to see them grow over the summer. Well, it's really great to have the front end off of the Cutlass here, and really stoked to be moving forward with this project. Can't wait to mock up the block and start on engine plates, mid plate and front plate stuff, as well as the headers. That's going to be a really cool project that I hope to be working on soon, and I'll definitely bring y'all guys along for the ride. Also, the Nova, we're just trying to coordinate a time that the owner can come over and get fitted up in here so that I can go ahead and mount the seats, and also finish up the funny car hoop and all that kind of stuff. So hope y'all are looking forward to it as well, and hope you tune in for that stuff, hopefully coming pretty soon. And until then, take care, and I want to thank you guys for watching, liking, and subscribing, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.